Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Sunday at the round table. I am Mike Anita, your host, and with me I have Brother Las Crawford and Brother John Orton. Today we're going to have a discussion about the U.S. election and its implication for Black people. Mr. John Orton will be leading this discussion because now is a very interesting time in America. We see Kamala Harris seems poised to become the next president of this country, and we're not sure what's happening. There's some confusion. I'm certainly one of those who are confused as to the American election. And I know my listeners might be confused as well because here in America, things just move fast. So, Brother John, Brother John is a former member of the Workers' Party Central Committee. He was also General Secretary for the National Union of Democratic Teachers in Jamaica. He's a long-time watcher, observer of political trends in the Americas, in the Caribbean, in America. So my expectation is that we're going to have a very wonderful discussion. So, without further ado, Mr. John Orton, you want to take it on from there? Take it on.
Thank you. Thank you very much to your listeners, Las and Mikey. I don't know. I haven't been here for a little while. Just to explain to the viewers, I took a little vacation. I'm retired now. I'm pleased to say, and I took a 6-week vacation, traveling mostly in Europe. And since I came back, which is like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago, the events here, as Nita said, have been literally moving at pace, great speed. In the last week, we had the Prime Minister of Israel addressing the Congress, a known war criminal, condemned by most of the countries in the world, condemned by the International Criminal Court, and condemned by anyone who has any level, any semblance of humanity. So I was very taken aback, first by the fact that he was invited, but most of all by the fact that he was able to receive 57 standing ovations. His presentation, which was mostly a pack of lies, which the government of Israel is known for. By anyone who has been following the news would have seen that. So here we are, the country that presents itself as the beacon of human rights has invited a known war criminal. I am very sure that Putin would never be invited to speak at the in the U.S. House of of Congress in the way that Netanyahu was invited. The other big event since I came back was perhaps I can start with this, the way in which the world situation is changing. I really want to briefly comment on it because it's going to affect the future, the present and the future of American policy, American behavior. Regardless of what they believe, the world is no longer unipolar. We are
John,
going into, yes.
John, can you sit up so we see your face? Your
Oh,
face, yeah.
sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah, go
hiding
ahead.
from the camera.
Yeah, go ahead. All right, now.
Yes, so we have
All
a
right.
world. The world is changing, brothers and sisters, in that at the end of World War II and the collapse of what was known as the Soviet Union, especially the breakaway of several countries in Western Russia or Eastern Europe that joined, many of them went over into NATO and especially into the European Union. It
Can
led
you sit back
that,
a little, John? We're not getting your full face.
oh my, all right,
Yeah,
yes, I'm
yeah, that's
supposing,
yeah. All right, yeah,
You're
that's
too
good.
high. You're too. Yeah.
you want to
All
see
right,
my
yeah, that's
volume?
okay, John. Right, right, yeah, right
All
there.
right,
Yeah.
yes. So I was saying that at the end of World War II, the breakup of the Soviet Union gave uh, gave way to a unipolar world dominated by the United States. For those of us who don't know, the United States has now today over 110 bases. I'm sorry, bases, military bases in over 110 countries. And many of those bases, like in Cuba, Guantanamo Bay, are not bases that the people of the country approve. But they have no choice. They cannot simply demand, they have passed resolutions and so on, but they don't have the power to dismiss the military base from these countries because it belongs to the most powerful military country in the world. Still, there are many countries like that, and many of them are in the Middle East, which we hear about on the news. So the main change as to the shift in global power is the demise of this unipolar world into a more multipolar world in which the Russia and the China are now belonging to a group which we all heard of called BRICS. BRICS stand for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And the BRICS group, since the end of 2020, are producing a majority, the largest share of GDP in the world, but they are not militarily equivalent to the United States, not as yet. but this has implications for international politics going forward. It also has implications for the internal politics of the United States. And today, when we look at the coming election, the third big element, which since I came back, is the decision of the leader of the Democratic Party, current President Joseph Biden, to step down after the debate. I saw the debate on TV abroad, and I agree with all those who express amazement and concern for the future of the Democratic Party when we compare with Donald Trump, who is still able to dodge bullets, is fit enough to dodge bullets and raise his fist and so on. So these events are both pluses and minuses in the current situation. And our focus today is to talk more about the implications for elections. And by that I mean, I'm not a magician. I cannot predict who is going to win. But I can tell you immediately that Kamala Harris was announced as the alternative, there was a groundswell of support among new elements. First of all, there was great enthusiasm from among the base of the Democratic Party. People commend about it as similar to the time when Obama first ran in terms of the enthusiasm. And one of the indicators of this enthusiasm is the amount of money she raised for her campaign within the first 36 hours. It's still breaking records. She's still getting considerable sums of money. I myself humbly donated a reasonable amount compared to what I had given in the last 3 or 4 years, especially during the horrendous war against the Palestinian people. The genocide, not a war, it's a genocide against the Palestinian people. I stopped giving money to the Democratic Party. And some people know I came to the edge of not voting at all. I wouldn't vote for Trump, but I had to decide in my mind, am I going to vote for Biden? And I made a decision to vote for Kamala Harris because I believe that she stands closer to me and closer to the grassroots, closer to a just outcome for the Palestinian people as the head of the Democratic Party. And it's the signals I received from her meeting with Netanyahu seem to confirm that. I don't want to brand her like how Trump brand everybody, This one is a leftist, this one is a Marxist, and so on and so forth. I'm not into that. I am more concerned with her actions as well as her statements, but the actions speak louder than words. And on this point, I wanted to share some thoughts about the coming elections. The first and most important thing for those of us who were alive, and that should be all of us for the most part, who were alive in the last Trump election is that, as I told one of my friends, it is, for me, it will be better to support a blind man who could not see than to vote for Donald Trump. So I don't know how many of you share that opinion, but certainly the reasons have to do with the previous Trump election performance administration, as well as, if you have had a chance, I really didn't have a good chance to look up their blueprint. It's called 2025
Project 2025.
Project. Well, the name I see, let me try find it here. I managed to find it this afternoon, but it's 922 pages. And to be honest, I don't need to read all of it. It's evident, however, that this represents a more masterful, whatever Trump learned in 2006, when was it? 16? When he was in power the last time, it is now brought into black and white. Some of the things he will do, I'll make a quote of some of them. But before I go there, I would like to remind everybody, all of us here, the least we can do in terms of the elections is to go out and vote. And this is one time where our vote is important. And I'll remind you, I managed to bring up the last election and to remind our listeners of how close some of those votes went. Arizona had 0.3% victory by Biden over Trump. 0.3%. The numbers don't mean nothing, you know. It's the percent that show you how close it was. Georgia, the state of Georgia, 0.2%. Biden over Trump. Michigan, 2.8%. Biden over Trump. Nevada, 2.4%. Pennsylvania, 1.2%. Wisconsin, 0.6%. These 6 states, the Democrats won by 7.5% of the vote. In all, when you bring all the numbers together. Trump, on the other hand, won in these states, which were at the time considered swing states, so I'm going to mention them. Florida, 1.07%. Iowa, 8.2%. North Carolina, 1.3%. Ohio, 8.1%. Texas, 5.6%. I found the best source for these numbers is a place called Ballotpedia. Ballotpedia. The voting numbers are everywhere. The one that's most easy to understand, which break out the victory level, the swing votes, the end up, the outcome, the vote, the total plus the percent, etc., is Ballotpedia. And it also provides you with charts showing swing votes going back to 2019. What was it? When there were 22 states that swung. We've never had that since, but the point is you can see all of this information. The point I really want to make is that rather than lament about what Trump might do or might not do, our first priority is to help bring out votes among people, Jamaicans that we know, the diaspora that we know living in the United States. Some of us know people in Georgia, but many of us know people all over. Even in areas that we live. This is just as important for those of us who don't understand as any move that we might be making to get rid of the corrupt or the desire to get rid of the corrupt Jamaica Labour Party with a more progressive PNP party. Because the outcome of elections here will, in large measure, help to determine the outcome of elections throughout the Western Hemisphere, including Jamaica, which we can come back to as to how that can happen. How does that happen in the modern day? Moving right along, I wanted to just read a section of this document, Project 2025, because I want to suggest, Mr. Chairman, that we can perhaps not exhaust this. We can come back and talk about what to expect from, in other words, if Trump was to become victorious, what can we expect? And I will just read the language. I mean, this language here is extreme. You know, Kamala Harris is a Marxist in this thing. And it says here, I don't want to read all of, a lot of it. Inflation is ravaging family budgets. Drug overdose deaths continue to escalate. Children suffer the toxic normalization of transgenderism, with drag queens and pornography invading their school libraries. Overseas, a totalitarian communist dictatorship in Beijing is engaging in a strategic, cultural, and economic Cold War against United States interests, values, and people. Now, I just have to interject here. The difference between Trump and Biden when it comes to China is unfortunately not that significant. And it just to say that as far as I know, China has no military base in any foreign country. Never have, and up till now has not. They are building up their military, but that military is not placed overseas and influencing the outcome on or determining how people in foreign countries behave. They have no military base, whereas the United States is in more than 110 countries, overthrowing governments that are not deemed democratic, and many that are democratic but don't walk hand in hand with the outlook of the United States. So this document says here, overseas a totalitarian, I read that already. Moreover, low-income communities are drowning in addiction and government dependence. Contemporary elites have even repurposed the worst ingredients of the 70s, radical chic, to build the totalitarian cult known today as the Great Awakening. And now, as then, the Republican Party seems to have little understanding about what to do. And then I'll just skip, let me read another section here. I think it's worthwhile going over this to lift out the main policies that they advocate. It's fairly wordy, as you can imagine. It's 900 pages. This is not a manifesto. Okay, it says here, this book, Project 2025 as a whole, will arm the next conservative president with the same kind of strategic clarity, but for a new age. It goes on to say, in many ways, the entire point of centralizing political power, which is what they accuse the Democrats of doing, is to subvert the family. Its purpose is to replace people's natural loves and loyalties with unnatural ones. You can see this in the popular left-wing aphorism. Government is simply the name we give to the things we choose to do together. But in real life, most of these things people do together have nothing to do with government. These are the mediating institutions that serve as the building blocks for any healthy society: marriage, family, work, church, school, and volunteering. The name real people give to the things we do together is community, not government. Today, the American family is in a crisis. This is the part here. 40% of all children are born to unmarried mothers, including more than 70% of Black children. There is no government program that can replace the hole in a child's soul cut out by the absence of a father. Fatherlessness is one of the principal sources of American poverty, crime, mental illness, teen suicide, substance abuse, rejection of the church, and high school dropouts. So many of the problems government programs are designed to solve but cannot are ultimately problems created by the crisis of marriage and the family. The world has never seen a thriving, healthy, free, and prosperous society where most children grow up without their married parents. If current trends continue, we are heading towards social implosion. You hear the language?
John,
Yes.
you want to hold it there and let me bring in Patrick into the discussion and last. Patrick, we're talking about the election and its implication for black people in this country. You have heard John. You have any question? Any comments so far? Last, Patrick?
No, no question. I mean, I'm following John. I'm pretty much in tune with a lot of what John just outlined.
Mm-hmm. Last?
Yeah, pretty much what Project 2025 seems to be projecting on the American people is just a more right wing, even a more right wing version than the first Trump administration in terms of telling the country what a family should look like, what kind of orientation should be accepted in the country, you know. So it does not give a good projection to what, I mean, minorities should feel comfortable with in America, because even the immigration policies that Project 2025 is projecting is even a harsher policy than was implemented in the first Trump administration. So people should be aware, even though Trump has been denying any connection to Project 2025, the whole idea that is summed up in Project 25 coincides with what he did and what he wanted to do in his first administration.
But if I can just add some to that, at the same time, it's even though he's trying to distance himself from Project 2025, it's pretty obvious that you know that is unacceptable because it actually reflects a lot of what Trump either attempted or have talked about in one way or another. So it's difficult for him to distance himself. It's pretty much like the abortion issue and Roe versus Wade. We try to distance himself from it, from the extremities of it. But he has bragged so much about being instrumental in it coming about that it's hard for him to really distance himself from it. So the whole point is that, this time period that we're in is one where people really have to open their eyes and think and not just simply try to be on the sideline or try to divorce themselves from the politics, because the fact of the matter is that the politics is not just at your door, it is in your house, it is all over your life. Right? So it's one way it's gonna affect you in one way or another. So it's in your own interest, right, to understand what's taking place.
John,
All right.
I think
Yeah.
I think while it is true that China has no base around the world, what they have is the Confucius Institute. Every country that China offer support, they establish what is called the Confucius Institute. There's one at the UWI, and that's one way of trying to control the people, black people in Africa, black people all over the world. So just like American, the Chinese are still colonizers. They're trying to colonize Jamaica, trying to control. So we need to balance that thing. But my broader question though is we know that if Trump come to power, there's going to be mass deportation. He promised that. And something like that would affect mainly black people in this country, Caribbean people. What are the implications? What are additional implications do you see, John?
Yeah,
With
well,
that,
I didn't. I only wanted to touch on some of the things that are written here.
Okay.
And to go back to what I conceive of based on
Can you
the
go back, brother? We're only seeing half of your face, bro.
yeah, because I'm looking at the document.
Oh, okay.
If is a wonder you can see any of my face. I'm just reading the document here,
Okay. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
and it says here the next conservative president must take institutions of American civil society. Sorry, must make institution of American civil society hard targets for yoke culture warriors. This starts with deleting the terms sexual orientation and gender identity, diversity, equity, and inclusion, gender equality, gender equity, gender awareness, gender sensitive, abortion, reproductive health, reproductive rights, and any other term used to deprive Americans of their First Amendment rights out of every federal rule, agency regulation, contract, grant, regulation, and piece of legislation that exists. Pornography manifested today in the omnipresent propaganda of transgender ideology and sexualization of children, for instance, is not political Gordian knot inextricably binding up desperate claims about free speech, property rights, sexual liberation, and child welfare. It has no claim to First Amendment protection. Its purveyors are child predators, misogynistic exploiters of women. Their product is addictive as any illicit drug and as psychologically destructive as any crime. Pornography should be outlawed. The people who produce and distribute it should be imprisoned. Educators and public librarians who purvey should be classed as registered sex offenders, and telecommunications and technological firms that facilitate its spread should be shuttered. In our schools, the question of parenting authority over their children's education is a simple one. Schools serve parents, not the other way around. That is, of course, the best arguments for universal school choice, a goal all conservatives and conservative presidents must pursue. But even before we achieve that long term goal, parents' rights as their children's primary education should be non negotiable in American schools. We all know what's going on in the schools in Florida where they're burning and throwing out woke information. Um, Even before we achieve that parents' rights, states, cities, and counties, school boards, union bosses, principals, and teachers who disagree should be immediately cut off from federal funds. The noxious tenets of critical race theory and gender ideology should be excised from curricula in every school in the country. This is not the section dealing with education. This is the preamble. Um, these theories poison our children who are being taught on the one hand to affirm that the color of their skin fundamentally determines their identity and even their moral status, while on the other hand they are taught to deny the very creature that inheres in their human and consider accepting the giveness of our nature as men and women. I'm not going to read this for anymore. I think you get the drift of it. What I'm suggesting is it may be useful for another session to go over the whole of this document and lift out, highlight the areas that are most extreme. I haven't even read the section about immigration, but it's a long document, and this is just about
It, the,
Go ahead, lads.
go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Mike. The drift, one of the things that noticeable in this document that is detrimental to all minorities is that one of the things that was being practiced by the Donald Trump Republicans was that they don't want the schools to speak of racism. They don't want the schools to speak of any form of gender identity, right? They don't want people to talk about inequality that based on class and race. They don't want all of those things to be talked about. And these are the things that affect most minorities, the inequality in America. And it is being summed up in Project 2025. So the parallel between Project 2025 and the Donald Trump playbook is similar. And what people should realize is that all of these things that Project 2025 is projecting is about not yielding to inequality and discrimination in America that faces people that come from the Caribbean, people that are of different complexion than white people. Project 2025 is saying what is the status quo in America as it comes to racism and inequality must not change. And anybody who have any ideas about changing that status quo should be cut, right? They're talking about teachers who oppose or have any other view than what these conservatives believe in should be cut out of the system. One of the things that Project 2025 is also proposing is that government, the DOJ, the Department of Justice, they would overall the Department of Justice, they would put in only people who believe in what they are saying, that discrimination should continue and inequality should continue. And if you talk about inequality and the racist past of America, you don't deserve to be in America, right? And they would replace government officials who are lenient to minorities and the sufferings of minorities. That's the whole concept of Project 2025.
Ishmael, we're talking about the U.S. election and its implication for black people in the Americas. What do you have to say about Jamaica? A Trump victory, what impact will it that have on the Jamaican population, Jamaican community? Locally, what impact you think it will have?
Well, good evening again, everybody. Well, I'm just here mainly to listen and evaluate the opinions of all to see exactly where we will go, because nevertheless we will be at a crossroads in 100 days time. So personally though, I think a Trump victory may hit us where it hurts, and where it hurts mainly is in our pockets. Because a part of his campaign promises is that he will do mass deportations, and any immigrant group or minority group will be worried, because remittance is a big part of our how we operate here. So that's one thing. We don't necessarily know what will, sorry, Kamala Harris come with. We don't know. What we can say is that some of her ideals are in tandem with some of ours. Um, but nevertheless, we are still, you know, um, left to make this decision that we know not much about, sort of thing. So I think in terms of impact, it's mainly just a wait and see for us. Um, just as everybody thinks a Trump victory will um, mark the beginning of treacher treachery, or the beginning of worry for most of the world, including Jamaica, given that we have a large diaspora living in the United States. But nevertheless, it's just a wait and see for from my end as it relates to what will happen.
John, what
Yeah,
you
let me
think?
let me
Go ahead.
finish some of the points that I haven't even gotten to, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to avoid responding to some of the things that have been said, including your comment. But
Can you sit, John? We are not seeing your full face. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well,
That's
it
You're
looks like
moving
right
too
there,
much.
the camera.
right there.
You're moving too much, John. You're going back and forth, and
Well, the chair
you're
have a
moving
That's
too
back.
much.
it.
The chair have a back, and the
We are,
camera is on the
we,
top of the laptop. So I don't know
we
if
are,
why it's different from me and the rest of
You
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 guys.
lean you lean too far back sometimes, and we can't see you,
Because
and
the
you get
chair
it come.
is the chair, or the chair stay.
yeah, but
You saw
are
they
you?
give me a hard time, Ishmael.
No,
Raise
but
raise the back of your chair, man. Raise the back of your chair.
All right, I can't do that now. If I do that now, it's going to take me 5 minutes because I forgot to spin it, turn it over.
Yeah, man, continue.
All
Just
right,
continue. It's okay.
yeah, man. All right. First thing
Oh my God.
with a Trump victory. The institutions of the law will be adjusted to suit what's the word I want to use? All of what I just read there. More surveillance, more I think Jamaican diaspora are not here primarily illegally, but they are involved with all kinds of things, including being on a program like this. And what's going to happen under Trump, if Trump came back, is more surveillance through police, more surveillance through the um, Facebook, through the X, through the Instagram, etc. And not just surveillance for uh, pornography, as they call it, which mean anything sexual. Because I wrote down here that the language of that thing I just read and the evangelical family values is almost one and the same.
that is what it sounds like to me. It's come
Right.
straight. Yeah, it's
It's
come
like an
straight from.
it just runs straight into a straight line. There's no barrier
Yeah.
between church and state, between sex and transgender. Any teaching of sex is the responsibility of the parent, right? Over the child. The school have no role to play. And if there is a role, it must be in line with evangelical teaching.
Yeah.
That's what this means. It's highly pervasive. When you start talking about who sleep with who and what kind of other person you sleep with, and highly pervasive, which include your thinking and your beliefs, not just related to gender, but to politics and to everything else. So there would be unquestionably a highly pervasive atmosphere. Movement like the All Black Lives Matter, which was on the streets so many months and weeks when the police kill off the youth, kill off many youth. Those organizations would be under pressure. Trump referred to them as communists and Marxists. He used that language in his everyday talk, include calling Kamala, words like ultra left and what's the word him call her? Apart from him using derog IQ, low IQ, he also brand her politically, which is how he does with everything. Anybody in brand you. Him can't brand Biden, but him call him Sleepy Joe, meaning him not alert, right? But when it comes to my lady here, Camilla, there's no question that she can run up and down the plane step. Because we see her. There's no question that she can run up and down the stage. Because we see her. So it might have another name for somebody like her, which is more political, to brand her as something. The other thing that would be almost certain is the collaboration with right-wing governments in the region. That is the nature of the beast. Who is overthrowing the Venezuelan government? Remember them invite here, a little shadow guy, have nobody behind him to come to the Congress. You remember?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and them have a woman now in Venezuela. When
Yeah.
them ask her what gonna happen if you do certain things, should have nobody behind her. It's just a person that them's fine, and but they will be working to undermine these governments, and that is another area of certainty, collaboration with right-wing governments. And if those governments want to get names, they will be able to utilize. So the instruments of the state would be used in a more aggressive, restrictive manner. The other thing is the cost of living. Trump has as a rule the idea that he's going to import, what you call it, taxes, tariffs on anything that come from China, which in this case it would be the cars, which are underpricing the Tesla.
Tesla, yeah.
Motor, the energy.
Tesla.
Tesla. Right name again? Tesla.
Tesla.
Yeah.
Tesla.
Right, Tesla. Thank you, sir. So anything like that, of course, it's not only those things that I'm going. China man, them buy all the agriculture. So the response of China is going to be what? Tariff on those things that go into China.
And that's going to affect the American consumers.
That's going to affect the American farmers, even food. All them little cheap thing you buy now on TikTok shop, those things will be triple the price if TikTok shop remain. If TikTok can still, because right now I was going to mention yesterday, Kamala had a meeting in the village, in the villages, which is just couple miles from me. Central Florida is
Yeah.
a bastion for Trump. Them call her out there yesterday. Big lineup with golf cart and everything. It's on TikTok, which is another indication of her campaign breaking into new areas. All right, that would be a big. Villages is a fairly large community of well-to-do retired persons, and they had something there yesterday based on the, the type of language that Trump uses in his campaigns. I think that those people are turned off by it. There's many idiotic things that his campaign is doing. Even for me, I would never. Some of those ads that are promoting people that he appoint, they are only saying that they are Trump people. There's not. It doesn't tell you what the man defend. It's just out there saying that Trump support him or that he's loved by Trump. So those are some of the points. The remittances point is absolutely true, but I don't think you're getting a lot of remittances from illegal people. What is likely to happen is that those rules, the deportation is going to affect mostly people from Central America who are illegal coming through the southern border. So that would be my inclination. I don't think Jamaicans would be a significant number. Yes, there are illegal Jamaicans, but they are very few and far between, like Chinese. Not that many of them take that track.
I think the question though, when one listen to you reading out that thing, the question though before each of us is, are we willing to live under Trump administration? I think that is a question a number of people are asking. I know some of my folks say they're not. I am not sure if I want to live under Trump, a second Trump government. I'm not sure. That is a question for me. I would like to hear from the others what they think.
I, I
If
think
they are
also,
getting,
I think
go ahead,
also,
lad.
Mikey, I think also one of the things that should be concerning, I mean, our people in the diaspora is, should we just sit and wait and see what happens? Or should our people go out there and actively try to change the direction of the election in favor of Kamala Harris and the
I think
Democrats?
I think we
Because
should. I think we should. We shouldn't just vote. We should also help in the organizing. We should. Because what choice do we have? Sit back and wait for Trump to come to office and then worry? I think if we are serious about this, then we ought to get involved. Not just voting, but we have to go beyond that. You
Yeah,
understand?
I'm sorry if I gave the impression it should be confined to voting. It's absolutely election working, including canvassing. I did this from Obama before I could vote. I mean, I did it when I could vote too, but I wasn't a citizen when he first came in. and I canvassed for him in South Florida. I couldn't do it here for different reasons. I wouldn't do it here because the ground here is a different soil. It already have plenty red dig up in the ground already. I wouldn't be going. I wouldn't be going no canvassing in this area, in where I live, or in my general area.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a different thing. But the idea is election workers, people that you can call,
Yeah,
um, especially in areas like Atlanta, which have a lot of Jamaicans,
yeah,
uh, Connecticut. Some areas are guaranteed, I'm sorry, not swing voting. Like Boston is not a swing voting place, but bringing out to raise the national vote. There is always virtue in getting more people out to vote.
Patrick.
The
Yeah.
question you ask about living under Trump, I'm interested to hear everybody's response to that.
Two things was listening for you mentioned, John. And one of them kind of slipped me, but it's two things which directly affect us. And it right now it is something more being pushed in Florida because it was pushed under the DeSantis government.
Hmm.
But
You mean the woke thing?
yes, but specifically the book banning, right, with schools, right, and
Yeah.
the diminishing.
Anthony McMantoni.
1 second.
Is Trump that are coming?
Yeah, and the diminishing of the public education. Those are two things in Project 2025,
Right.
and it's two things which directly will affect people. So it don't take much to really even understand how it will affect you.
Yeah.
Because
And a lot of the thing, go ahead, John.
No, I was going to say that it's an interesting philosophy, which inherently what it does is perpetuate racism and reinforces racism. It reinforces, institutionalizes, and double down on racism in the country, because technically what it's saying is you cannot teach about slavery. You cannot say that this was a bad thing or give any. You can't teach about slavery. Slavery is banned. How is the community going to ever build itself to overcome 300 or 400 years of that? It cannot be done unless it's part of the curriculum in the schools. And in Florida, what will happen under another Trump is that these programs, which are now being instituted in Florida, will be instituted throughout the country. It will become a federal policy to ban the banning of teaching of racism and institutional, those programs that are meant to build bridges by helping people to understand better. They are being overturned, and fight broken out between parents and all that in the boardroom in the parent teacher meeting.
But the,
I
but the
want to,
question,
yes.
but the question I think though on everyone's mind is where all of this is coming from. To me, it seems that the Christian fundamentalists are the ones driving this agenda. The Christian right. It has always been an issue here. And I think part of the problem is that white women and white girls are going home with chocolate babies. And these white men are scared. They are scared
Going on
because
with what?
chocolate babies. And these white men are scared because the birth rate in America is going down.
Like everywhere else,
And they feel threatened. They feel threatened. So they
except
come,
Palestine and Mexico and those countries.
yeah, and they feel threatened. They feel threatened by that. So that is it's the I want to call it the white backlash. You know, since Obama, this white backlash, and it's now magnified itself with the Project 25. I think that is what is happening. I might be wrong, but let me hear from the others. Where is this thing coming from? This push to move
We
the country
affirm,
right.
well, we have to remember that the ultra right in America has always been pushing the agenda that white people, the culture of white people and white people livelihood is being threatened
Yeah,
by immigration
yeah,
and threatened by things like affirmative action that seek to create space in society for other races to move up and equalize themselves in positions in society, right?
So
The, the,
so that's
the,
why
the
that
ultra
so
right,
that's
the, the ultra
is
right
that
has always been pushing that argument. When Trump came to power the first time, right, he used that as a scare tactic, right, to say that the life of white people is going to change for the worse if they voted for the Democratic Party and voted in any kind of progressive way. And that was why we saw under Trump in his first administration the rise of white supremacy coming forward to defend. They were like coming forward to defend their life. It's like they felt that they were being, they spoke as if there was no place, there was not going to be any place in America for white people if the Democratic Party came to power. And so
well
their immigration policy, one of the things that Trump was pushing is that these people, these others, these people who are not white, when they come to America, they
they
come to
poison the
corrupt.
blood.
They come as they come as it's almost like a Hitlerite kind of philosophy he was preaching, and
Yeah.
it is the same thing that is embodying Project 2025. They're
Mhm.
against people saying that America is a racist country based on racism. You can't talk like slavery was a bad thing because you're threatening. If you talk like that, it's like a threat to white people. If you talk
Mhm.
about the inequality in the society that was created based on the racist nature of the American society, is as if
Mhm.
you're talking against white people, right? That's
Yeah.
how that's how these right-wing conservatives are presenting it. And
Okay.
so their policies is to try and create a society that limits more people coming in and threatening the whole culture, the white culture. That's the supremacist nature of Trump and Project 2025 together.
Yeah, it's not exclusively a religious thing. That's the point. I think that's what Lass is saying, and I agree with him. It's broader than evangelical. It's not I know you have this thing that everything run through philosophy, but I don't think that idea, for example, the KKK, when it was disbanded, a lot of the KKK joined the police force. And the police force now become the blunt instrument for cracking down on black people. The programs, everything, it's geared to controlling black people and controlling colored people. That mentality is institutionalized in the police force. And it's what is being spread. It becomes now the actual doctrine of the Trump doctrine of this new 2025.
So
And
we're
that
that
is
new.
why, and that is why they're talking. That is why, Mikey, they are talking so much about replacing teachers, replacing people in the DOJ, replacing people in important
Question last.
government.
Replacing teachers with what or who?
They're
They
replacing the
want
Department of
teachers
Education.
who believe. They want teachers who believe
A different
that
doctrine.
you should not be teaching. You should not be teaching about racism. You should not be teaching about the history of racism or slavery in America. You should not be telling people that part of the inequality that exists in American society is caused by the racist foundation of the American society. You should not be talking about that. You should not be talking about classes, the existence of different classes in the American society. They don't want people talking about that. Right? So
But
they
let me
want teachers.
but let me ask you that. Let me ask you this: is this anywhere different than Jamaica? Because in Jamaica, it's like you can't talk about class in Jamaica.
Good question. Good
No,
question.
it's totally different. It is
Hold
totally
on,
different.
hold on.
I mean,
Last,
If I,
let me Patrick.
yeah, if I can say this, right? We cannot. These are not things we can talk about in isolation of our history.
Correct.
We have to
Yeah.
look at how all of this came to be the way it
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
right? And historically, it was rooted in philosophy. It was crafted around religion. That's what they did. That's what they did when they introduced Christianity, the Christian religion, right? Into into Africa, right? I mean, historical facts bear this out, right? And it has always been a part of the whole crafting of racism, everything, even in terms of the images, the images that they portray, right, as a Jesus and so on, right? These things were things that were crafted. These are not historical facts,
No, they were.
right?
It's part of the
So
ideology of colonialism.
white supremacy is something which was actually constructed,
Correct.
right?
The
So
gun in one hand and the Bible in the next hand.
yeah, so when we talk about these things, we have to look at it, right, objectively, how it developed, right? So it's not something that's totally
for sure.
separated. Even when they talk about separation of church and state, that's certainly not what they mean, right?
No, the Republicans don't mean that. They would like the state to be promoting the philosophy of the church and
Yeah.
vice versa.
Yeah, but all of what we see happening is nothing new. British colonialism, which is really where it all,
Nobody's
came from in terms of the American society, right? That is how it was crafted. But it wasn't just British colonialism either. It was all the colonialists who practiced that. The Portuguese started it, the Spanish followed, all right? And so did the French and the English. All of them practiced the same thing. So all the answers are right there in history.
But that's a problem. That's a problem. That's a problem, Patrick. They don't want you to present the history. That is why they are talking about banning certain books from the schools,
Yes.
banning certain courses, right? Because that, and that is why they are saying, if these teachers, if you're a teacher, if you're a lecturer in the university, right? If you're a teacher in the high school, and you want to teach that kind of history that zeroes in on the origin of racism and inequality in the American society, you should not be a part of the system. That is what they are saying.
No.
That is what the Trump
There's no
conservative
place for you as a teacher doing
people
that.
are saying. And that is what, and that it's not that they're talking about it, these are things John can tell you has been happening. It started to happen in a number of the schools already, where they have actually passed legislations in some of the states, right? To say they can't teach we call it social something theory, right?
Social studies.
In the schools, right? You can't talk about racism, right? So that's where it's at. And with a new Trump administration, what you're going to see is more widespread. This becoming more widespread because already they are talking about replacing people in the Department of Justice, replacing teachers, replacing government officials. Part of it is part of the backlash because he thinks there are certain judges, right? There are certain political representatives, there are certain institutions in America, right, that is not living up to the philosophy, the philosophy of accepting inequality. Because what they want to know is that people in America, especially minorities, accept where they are in society. They want you to accept that you are at the bottom of the barrel, right, and you should do nothing about it. They don't want you to look at history and say, this is what caused the inequality and there's a way we can change it. They don't want that. Right? They're saying
Well, it seems
people coming here should accept them position in society.
well, it seems to me that it all boils down to the ballot box. The ballot box. We have to do everything in our power to get people to come out and vote for Kamala Harris. I think because there's no other option.
Yeah, I didn't make 2 points. One is that point. The other is that the more the Democratic president win by a decisive margin, is the less Trump can argue that the election is rigged. So you can prepare yourself that if he loses again, you're going to have another January 6th.
No, John.
Whatever for
No,
what?
John. Not if he loses again. When he loses again,
Yes,
right?
when
You're
he
likely to. This is definitely what you'll be looking at, right?
that's
You'll be
correct.
looking at a
When he
repeat.
loses, when he thank you for correcting me. When he loses again, there is no question. The margins that I just read out, 1% and all them something there. That's Georgia's 0.2%. That's the one him call the man and say, you can't find 3,000 or 300 vote. So I can win that in a your state. 300 more people vote. Right? My point is the less turnout you get, is the greater the chance not only of him winning, but even if him lose and it lose by a close margin, him going to say it thief.
True.
Him going to say thief. It's too many of them that's so close.
Oh, John, the other point I wanted to mention, which I said, I'm surprised
And
you never raised it, is pertaining to the Supreme Court, right? And that ruling that the Supreme Court made that has really now given Trump carte blanche to really do just what he wants to do. That immunity, right? What do you call it?
Yes.
That
Any decision carried out by the president in his capacity as a government, as a president, in other words, not a personal decision. It's not like the thing paying off the call girl. It's like the one where him have the documents at Mar-a-Lago.
yeah.
That would be that would be considered that he should be immune to that.
Yes, but more specifically, right? The point I'm making is that the Supreme Court is so politicized now, blatantly politicized,
Blatantly.
right? That what we're looking at is, should there be another Trump government?
More
Right?
politicized. That's right.
It would be all over. So
More policy.
when we're talking about voting now, we're not just talking about voting to support Kamala. We're talking about voting in defense of building a democracy.
That's right.
That's really what we're talking about. That's really the more important point. All right? Because a lot of people try to argue it about in terms of why they should support or why they shouldn't support, right? Kamala Harris. As if is something where voting her into office is something where just she's gonna benefit from. No. That's short-sightedness. Dangerous short-sightedness.
That's right. But remember my point,
So
Nita, that the man lose, the man is
yeah,
going
which
to
is
the man is going to carry out national civil unrest.
clean. I'm not sure how far he will go with this because
It don't
you
matter
listen
how
to the FBI director about. No, hear me. I think within the security forces, like this Secret Service and what have you, there's something funny happening there. Like they don't trust him. And I say that because of what the FBI director said, that they're not sure if he was injured by a bullet or something else. And when the FBI said that, I said, okay, there's some anti-Trump sentiment at work in here. So I think yes, we should be on guard again about that. That he might try that and want to do things, but I think the first time he got away with that, that's how it looked. But I don't think the American people are going to with that sort of activity this time around.
Yeah, but what is it?
You know,
I don't
freedom
understand.
of expression
What is the means of stopping it? It's a this is a police thing, you know, and a military thing.
No, no. The real point around this is I know where Mike is going with that. Earlier in the week, there was hearing in Congress about
The
the
security.
assassination attempt,
Right.
right? And the point that the FBI director brought out is that as far as the shooting at Trump or the injury at Trump is concerned, right, that they don't have enough information about it because they have not received any medical report. Because, of course, Trump shut that down, right, about making the medical report available. So they're still not sure whether what hit him, it is here as is being reported, was in fact a bullet or it was shrapnel from gunfire, right? And one of the reasons why that came up is that a lot of people were arguing, including myself, right, that for an injury to occur like that from a bullet, right, it doesn't reflect, right, the kind of injury you'd sustain from a AR-15. We already, the fact is we know the rifle that the gunman fired was an AR-15, right? And according to Trump, right, is that the doctors say that the bullet went through his ear, right? And for those who have any idea whatsoever as to the velocity of that kind of bullet being fired and all of that, right? And that kind of injury occurring, that's ridiculous, totally ridiculous. Totally ridiculous.
Explain it to me now, since I don't know nothing about the velocity of AR-15. You mean him ears should be shattered?
Is a high-powered rifle, first of all.
Yeah, I know
right?
what it is, but what would it do?
But first of all, let's look at the circumstance. The circumstance is that gunman fired from approximately 150 yards, roughly, right? That's nothing for an AR-15, right? That's nothing for an AR-15. Now, you for sustain injury from an AR-15 from 150 yards, right? It's not gonna be a bullet passing through his ear, right? This is something that's gonna affect him seriously, right? It's gonna take off the whole ear. Let's say it only hits in that region, it's gonna take off the whole ear, right? And furthermore, right, there will be other sustaining injuries from it. Not just you know, a little flow of blood and him going and then patch him up and he's back out, you know, running him out again by the next day. No, it's gonna affect cognitive function, everything.
So you're saying that it was a setup, it's a fake news. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying that they're not being forthcoming.
Okay.
That's all I can say right now. They're not being forthcoming in terms of what really happened.
Yeah.
Who? The FBI or Trump?
Nobody
Trump.
is being forthcoming. The ones who know what happened are not being forthcoming about it. Right? Okay. That was no AR-15 that hit his ear. AR-15 you know, bullet that hit his ear. Well, and that's one of the reasons why the FBI director said, you know, they don't know, right? Whether it's from the bullet or from shrapnel and all of that, because he's trying to, be diplomatic about it, right? In other words, I'm trying to dress up his statement, right, without being conclusive. But at the same time, right, everybody has been hush hush about it, right? All they're saying is that it's being investigated. It's being investigated, right? And they bring the Secret Service director under pressure, of course,
And to
right?
resign.
Because they want to be particular in terms of how the whole thing is handled.
Mm.
Because
Well,
even the Secret Service performance was not like a Secret Service performance that day.
that's why I'm saying that exactly why I'm saying there's cracks in the security force. There's cracks.
Not
Yeah,
just
but
cracks,
that's not the
not just
same.
cracks. There are blatant holes in everything.
Yeah, in the security. Yeah,
Everything.
yes,
Everything.
yes, yeah.
Right, but let me try and understand, because the fact that there was a failure in the security system doesn't necessarily mean it was a setup, unless you are implying that the whole thing was a setup.
I'm not implying anything. I'm just saying that.
I
The
don't mean you,
argument.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean you direct. I just
Oh,
mean
okay,
generally.
okay, okay.
It's a position some people has been putting forward. I also don't subscribe to that position either. Because in one way
Well,
it can be
I want to
you
share something with you.
yeah.
What I
Just a
mean you
minute
don't
there.
subscribe to it? It's a known thing on the part of right wingers to do something like that. It's not like a thing
Yeah,
that
yeah,
never
yeah.
happened.
No, but
That's
there's
what
a
I.
there's a view that is tending to say, well, there's one view that is saying it's a right wing setup, right? The next view is saying it's a left wing setup, right? Which is what
Well, I can.
I,
Last,
I don't.
last. Before
Yes,
Hitler launches attack, he burned down the Reichstag, the parliament.
yeah,
Okay, and then he rounded up the people. Mussolini, go back and look at Mussolini. Mussolini was known as someone who engaged in this type of practice. During his time, he reported 4 different assassination attempts. You understand me? Mussolini. So I don't put anything past these fascists. I
yeah.
don't put anything.
But I
I,
don't
I'm
know.
not.
I
I'm not
just
going to.
I'm no for me. I'm not tending in any one of those direction that it's a left wing or right wing setup. I'm not tending towards any of those positions.
I
That's
understand
my
that, but
personal. That's just my
I
personal.
understand that, but personally, I'm not
Yeah,
going to rule it out. Knowing what Hitler did, knowing what Mussolini did. You understand? I'm not going to put it
And
past
knowing
Donald
that the
Trump.
thing with Trump happened 2 days before
Yeah,
the RNC conference, and
yes,
before Biden stepped down,
yes.
it
You
was
know,
geared to give him a little bump,
sympathy support.
sympathy support.
Yeah,
So
Which he did get.
I'm,
Which he
eh?
did get. Which he did get.
Which he did get, he must get. The question is the technical question that I am interested to hear, because if the velocity of that rifle is such that it must tear up your ears,
Yeah,
his ears didn't tear up,
Definitely not.
right? Because the other thing is, you can't go by the photographs, because every other photograph show before and after, I'll know, not even a little, not even scared upon the ears if you're going to follow the photograph. But the photograph can be, what you call it,
Doctor.
doctored. The question really is, why is the damage to his ear such that all he need is a little patch?
Well, here's the thing, John, to that. Here's the thing to that. And that's why I said that there's no reason for implying anything, because just look at the facts. The very night after it happened, Saturday night, right? He was tweeting. He's the one who tweeted about bullet going through his ear, right? A hole going through his ear. Not his doctor, not no medical report.
But
He's the one
you
who
see,
tweeted that.
I tell you,
If it was anything like an AR-15 hitting him that way, right? He
listen
would
listen
not
why
be up to tweeting anything Saturday night.
listen why I don't put a lot of attention to that, Patrick.
No,
I
but
think
hold
it is
on.
yeah.
Hold on. And the moment he said that, if you notice, afterwards when everybody said, or at least some people who know better, say, none can go so. You never hear another mention about what happened until the night of the conference, when him report to the conference with the bandage over him here.
Listen,
And they don't
listen,
mention anything about it again.
Patrick, listen why I don't pay much attention to those theories. I think they are distractions. I think the major focus should be on showing Trump for what he is, and showing the Republicans for what they are, and putting forward a position that makes people aware of the threat that this man and the Republican Party at this time is to the democracy of America, and the threat that a Trump victory means to the world. For us to be focusing on whether or not it was a setup or not a setup, or whether I'm ears have a hole in it consistent with whatever, I feel is a distraction from what people should be focusing on and making a decision to ensure that Trump is not reelected.
Absolutely.
Right? That is the reason why I'm not going one way or the other, whether it's a left-wing or right-wing conspiracy. That is not my focus, and that shouldn't be the focus of people right now.
Absolutely. But here's the thing, lass. To John's point.
Yeah.
That's the very reason why the whole argument come up in terms of, white might have been something staged, right? To bump up his points and all of that stuff, right? And for really lay the basis for him to reflect better in his polls. Because when you really think about it, when Trump, if you listen to any of Trump's speeches, it is nothing of substance. He has nothing to say in terms of policy. He has nothing to say in terms of how he will make the country better. Right?
The thing is,
and that is what was the problem.
You're the thing now, Patrick. You see, even if that was an intention, Trump don't have the sense to capitalize on those kind of things. Because, okay, he's looking for sympathy. And he came out the first day after and said, well, and him sounded kind of penitent, and like him reconsidering some of his positions, and he's trying to be, a more thinking person because of this experience. And then the very next day, or just a couple days after. Him saying, "Oh, you guys expect me to be nice? I ain't no nice guy." So even if that was the initial intention, him no know how to capitalize on it. Even if him get sympathy in a few hours, he doesn't know how to capitalize on that kind of sympathy because him can't change him spot. It's like a leopard who can't change them spot. So the negatives in Trump will always be there, right? So it never suit him well, even if it was staged. It is backfiring because him himself has killed that whatever sympathy he would have been looking for in a staged event like this. So it wasn't worth it if it was staged.
Yeah.
Gentlemen.
But if I can just switch the argument slightly, right? To the Jamaican situation, right? And the lessons. When you really think about it, and you probably, not probably, you have heard me say it time and time again in our discussion, right? That oldness always taking a play out of Trump book, right? It's a similar thing play out in Jamaica, you see, where they try to play on the ignorance of people, right? They try to play on the ignorance of the Jamaican public, right? I mean, this is what corrupt governments do, right? This is what corrupt politicians do, right? They come up with scenarios which they know, knowingly, blatantly, it's false, but they try to portray it as if it can be some kind of factual, situation or factual event. It's the same kind of thing that play out.
Gentlemen, I don't think anyone will disagree with that. But we have spent 1 hour and 42 minutes on this topic, and I want to go around the room and with some final remarks. One thing is clear, though, is that we all agree that a victory for Trump is dangerous for us, and
For the
therefore
world.
we for the world. Therefore, we from the Caribbean living in America, we must get involved in the campaign to elect Kamala Harris. Because that is the salvation before us right now. I hope people like JFK and
A
Cornell
lesser,
were
a lesser, a lesser hell. I don't know about salvation, but a lesser hell for
okay.
us.
Okay. So can we go around now with final word, please?
Before we reach the final words, Mikey, we never said anything about the conference in
In
Toronto
Toronto,
on Friday.
I didn't say that because
I want to just give a little report,
you
to the.
went. Did you went?
Did you go?
Yes, I was there.
Okay. Give us a report.
Yes, sir, I was there. The conference was a big success.
What's the turnout like?
I mean, I was there early. Well, I'm not good at estimating crowds, but it was a big crowd. I'll send you guys some pictures and so from the
How much
conference
does
because
the
I took
place
a
hold?
number of
How much
pictures
does the venue
and so
hold?
forth. So
The size of the venue.
I am not sure. It's like the size of the venue was probably like a place.
This is a diaspora conference, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, a diaspora conference. I'd say probably like close to 200 people or more people turned up. And it was the vibes more the vibes more than anything else was tremendous. The people when I went there before the scheduled time, and when I went there, the place was like half full. right? And
Oh,
the speakers were late, right? Um, and people just sat there. Nobody left. Nobody looked uneasy. People just waited and waited until the thing started. And when the thing started, the participation was tremendous. Right? So, I just want to report that the thing was a big, big success. And we have to give some commendation to Lonesome,
yeah.
because Lonesome was the main man behind the whole organization and putting
Yes.
things in place. And I can say publicly that he did a wonderful job,
Good.
a wonderful job. And I met a lot of people were who watched this platform and say them like the platform and so forth. It's a wonderful thing. But I'll send you guys some of the photos and so forth. I don't know if you guys, it was streamed already on
It was
some of the
stream. Yeah, it was
platforms. So
stream.
I wasn't
Yeah.
sure
I've tried.
whether some of you guys saw it, right? But it was streamed live on some platforms. But it
Yeah.
was a
What's the name of it? What's the name of it?
Diaspora conference. Diaspora conference.
it was
You're breaking up, Las. Can't hear you clearly.
Look like him frozen.
is that the
Okay.
Canadian High Commission.
Yeah.
Sorry,
But
start over. You
The
were just
Jamaican High
frozen.
Commission.
what happened was
Jamaican High Commission.
that there
Okay.
was
Listen. Listen. What I do, I will ask Ratigan to provide us with a briefing. I know they post in Facebook,
right,
in,
no
in
demonstrations
YouTube, So I'm going to put it in the.
could have taken place there because of the safety reasons, and so it was transformed into a conference.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard about that. I heard about that. That would have been the change. Yeah. So it wasn't a demonstration like what we had before.
No, it
But
was a conference.
right.
Okay, we'll have hopefully next week.
Yeah.
Ratigan will be us. So, final word, last word. Ishmael, you want to start off?
Yeah. Interesting discussion. Incredibly interesting discussion. Um, it is going to be even more interesting to see how it plays out. And while we have that happening abroad, we have our own, you know, issues locally. I, I, I mean, I, I just wanted to make some, you know, raise some alert in relation to some of the issues happening locally, and how internationally it weighs in. Recently, I'm sure mahogany is in fact one of the world's best wood, and ironically, it is being harvested in Jamaica. Um, and there is now a standoff happening between the chief of Maroon Town and the government of Jamaica over it. It's raising some alarm. I did reach out to him. He promised to be on Waterhouse Vibes not today because I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it. I think he's detained as we speak. I'm not sure if he's out yet or if he's still um, within the confines of the police station in relation to what's happening. Um, but he did give me his word that he will come on. Also, we have some other guests that can add some context in relation to um, democracy and how it fits into what we're trying to achieve here on Waterhouse Vibes in relation to our knowledge to the wider public. So, my final words is all we have to do is just continue the fight because knowledge is indeed power, and the more knowledge we have, the more powerful we are.
All right,
Patrick.
Gen Z boss. I'm gonna give you a big name in the chat. Ishmael, the Gen Z boss.
Uh,
Yes, sir.
last you want to go ahead, go?
Yeah, I just want to say I agree with Ishmael about the awareness part of it. We need to bring awareness to the elections in the US and how it affects our people in the US and how it affects us or our people in Jamaica. And whatever lessons about authoritarianism that the people can draw as similarities between the kind of approach Donald Trump is is trying to pursue in America and the kind of authoritarianism that Andrew Holness is trying to impose on Jamaica. And the thing is, we shouldn't make any of them succeed in what they're trying to do.
Patrick, your turn.
Yeah, yeah, just saying that's what last just point out as well. And to say further, two things. Well, first of all, good discussion. And definitely this is something which we have to, stay in tune with, because it is it is not just the Jamaican situation, but it's even just as important, right? The situation here in the US, right, which impacts us as well as what's happening in Jamaica. So definitely, for us to as Jamaicans or as Jamaicans living in America, right, or even as American citizens and so on, right, we have to stay in tune with what's happening politically, because, like I said, politics is no longer at your door. Politics is all over your house. It's all over you. Right. So it is something which you cannot ignore. It is something that you cannot neglect. Right. Because to do that is to neglect your very well-being. And just to mention as well, I'd shared something with you guys on the platform earlier
Yeah.
because I don't know if you read the article. There was a walkout in the Senate
Oh,
um this
In the
past
Senate.
week,
On
yes,
right?
Friday.
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Friday.
Yes,
Yeah, I
Hmm.
saw that. I
and
saw
it's
that.
another case again where the wellness regime trying to carry out amendment to the Constitution, which again that has to be totally illegal.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Ironically, Patrick, I don't want to stop you, but just this week as well, they manage to pass because of their numbers to pass um an amendment to the Representation of the People's Act to
Postpone the election.
Postpone the election in
postpone,
St. Thomas.
right, and it's a local government election. So now again there are divisions without representation.
Okay. John Arton, your turn.
What was the question? The last word is be vigilant. I think we need to read the comments. There are many comments here, including people who feel that Kamala Harris is incompetent, and therefore there should be no support for her. But I disagree profusely with that. That is carrying us into the dark. To be nice. You asked a question about people who feel we should leave. I am one of those who would think strongly about leaving. I can tell you that. Therefore, I'm going to do what I can not to have to leave. But if that happens, I am definitely one of those who is seriously going to consider leaving. I was very upset, as you can imagine, with Netanyahu speaking at the Congress. I record my profound disgust at the war criminal, and that's it. I will do what I can, and that's it.
On that note, I want to say
Oh,
next
one more announcement, guys. One more announcement. It's a little bit personal, but me not mind sharing because it's within the realms of us advancing. So I decided to take on the task of running for VP for the People's National Party Youth Organization. The election is August 10. It is so unfortunate that only members of the YO can vote, but nevertheless, I'm making you guys aware of this. Maybe next week I'll share some of my.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Gen Z boss. Big move. I support you. Support you 100%.
That's my
Yeah,
birthday.
man.
So
Step forward,
I will
Bridget.
give me the present by winning.
Ishmael, I don't
Yeah.
understand how you put
Step
this at the
forward
very
and
end.
step up, Bridget.
I'm like that, man. If I'm like that. I'm like that.
man.
Yeah,
So,
man.
so you're going to come. You have to come back and a
100%
little
behind
bit.
you, Ishmael.
Yeah, we are 100% behind you. I might even join before you election, so I can vote. And also it'll be good to hear a little bit about what are the issues in this contest. Yeah.
Right. So just a little bit of background, guys, just before we leave. So the youth organization is in fact the supposed to be the conscience of the party one, and it is in fact the official youth arm of the organization, and we take on the task of advocacy as well as civic engagement to young people and minority groups. So it is in fact very important that we have a vibrant youth organization. And I must add that the last time when Norman Manley won the his election, it is because we had a vibrant youth organization. Nita could I tell you, himself and people like Paul Burke were
Not Norman, man, Michael.
when Neat, thank you, Michael Manley, Paul Burke, Nita, and people like them that I run up and down in Jamaica. I do the work. So yeah, I just continuing Nita's work on the ground. So thank you so much.
Well, I must correct you, it's not just me, but Patrick, John, Lass, all of everyone you see here, we played our part. You understand?
We,
Having
we
said
Right,
need
that,
we
right.
need to see.
Played a huge part.
yeah,
I
we need
appreciate that.
to,
All I'm going to do is just continue the work
yeah,
that you guys are
yeah,
doing.
but we need to see some manifesto from you as to where
Yes,
you
man. I
want to
have
carry
to.
the PMPYO and that sort of thing. We need to hear that. You
Yeah, man. Not
understand?
a problem. Not a problem.
Okay. Next Sunday,
Yes, next Sunday.
Rosalie Hamilton has
Right.
decided to join us next Sunday. She's going to talk about the Constitution. I told her that you guys want a discussion around this Constitution. She
Mm-hmm.
said she's available.
Wonderful.
And by the
This.
way, she has an article in the Sunday Gleaner today
Oh
about
yeah.
constitutional reform and climate change. It's something you should look at.
All
You
right.
know?
I'll do that.
I
I'll do
saw it.
that.
I
Yeah.
never get to read it.
Yeah. So I want to thank every one of you for the discussion this evening. The listeners, I also want to thank you very much, and also encourage you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. We are here to just provoke. We are just our thing is just thought provoking. We're not here to make any trouble. Just provoke thought for you to think about them. We don't expect you to agree with everything we say here, but remember, this is a free speech platform. Again, I can
Tell
repeat
them,
it.
Mikey, because I just read one a while ago. I go on like him there, I don't know him there, like him there at the RNC meeting.
Who's that?
Yeah, man.
Who, who's
Yeah.
that? I?
I
I'm not
mean,
going to say,
No.
I'm not
it's a part
calling
of
no
free
name.
speech.
I just
Yeah,
I read in the comments here, man.
Yeah,
yeah.
man. Yeah, man. Them
But
always
but
over here, man. No problem, man. All
this
views
is a free
content.
speech. Yeah, this is a free speech platform. You come here, we're not going to impose no censorship or what have you. But remember, every man's free to express himself. Every man and woman free to express themselves. All right. So stay
Yeah,
strong.
man.
Until next Sunday, we'll talk. Be good and thank you very
Blessing.
much.
All
Blessing.
right, brethren. Good, good.
Well, good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Carol.
Yeah.